Right, good evening ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to Fox's this evening for our fans forum. Very simple format this evening. I'm just going to quickly, you all know the panel, but we have Andrew Jenkins, the chairman, Suzanne Kidd, the finance director, Nigel Clibbins, chief executive, Jim Mitchell, Carlisle Kiosk 1921 Holdings director, is that right? Steve Pattinson, director, and Billy Atkinson, Kiosk Holdings director. You know that they all are. Very simple. I'll wander around with the microphone if anybody wants to ask a question. All we would ask, I've got a couple of children in, it's been recorded to be streamed by Radio Cumbria, not live on the radio, but it's been streamed. So let's try and keep the language to an acceptable level, as you can well imagine. That's basically all. Whatever question you want to ask, please feel free to ask. Okay? So basically we'll kick off. What we'll do, just ask you to put your hand up if you want to ask a question. I'll come across with the microphone, ask your question, and then one of the panel will answer. And then once that question's answered, hand up again, I'll get the microphone and come and give you the microphone to ask a question. Okay? Right. Who wants to ask the first question? Come on. First question? Right, there we go, you got the first one.
I would just basically like to know, like a solid answer of 10 years ago you described yourselves as reluctant custodians. That's what was being quoted in the papers before. And I'm just basically wanting to know what the plan of succession is as to someone taking over or someone coming onto the board to be groomed to take over. That's what I would basically like to know, because I feel like we're just stale, we're not doing anything, and the decline of the club has been quite dramatic, and as what I can see. So that's my question. What is the succession plan?
Well, a number of years ago, I said, you know, I'm getting along in the too, and it was time to look for somebody. Since then, we've had numerous people coming forward, but at this moment in time, we haven't been able to agree with anybody. We have a partnership with EWN, but nothing has turned up with that. But we have a partnership with them. But some of the other ones that we tried to get to a solution, such as the overseas investor, it's maybe my fault that I trusted an agent who was Dave McCreary's son, trusted them, and it went along, and it was half the time getting hold of them. Since then we've had local people, but I don't know, it's been well documented, but the hardest job when you look for people to come and take over, when you try and get money out of them, it just doesn't materialise, and that's the biggest problem. So at the moment we're very fortunate that Edinburgh Woollen Mill have been helping me and the rest of the board to put some finance there, and we'll see how things go. But it isn't easy finding people. There's people nearly every week trying to buy football clubs, and you see the messes that some of them get into. The one at Morecambe, for instance, the mess I believe the overseas investor they've got is reluctantly paying the wages. But at the moment we haven't got there yet, but we are trying. We're with one or two local people, irons in the fire, and there might be some surprises in the future. Albert, one or two others we've talked about.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of record that the three individual shareholders have made it clear over a number of years that they're willing to hand the reins over to someone else. They've made it clear that they're not out for personal gain or anything like that. They're willing to hand the club over, and when they've tried to do that, it hasn't quite come off. The key bit is that the people who come in have to be able to take the club forward, and the club needs money to take it forward, and therefore you need people who've got the ability to put that money in, not just for 6 months or a year, but for the longer term, because soon football clubs eat lots of cash, so you need someone who's capable of doing that, and you've got to find the right person. Lots of clubs have tried, and the easiest thing is maybe to hand it over to someone, but for the board to hand the club over to someone and then them not be able to take it forward and be in a worse position than everybody wants to be in. And it's as simple as that, really. So the door's open, and if people want to come forward, then the board will listen to them.
Yeah, can I just add something there? Yeah, we have had people coming to the club. One guy in particular that we had a meeting with that was quite forceful in certain things that he said about the custodians and that he would take over the club and he was going to put some money in. And I said to him, that's great, you know, you're going to put X, Y, Z in. What happens in 2 years when the money runs out? That is the problem. You know, short term, it is the problem getting somebody going into the club, but long term, it just doesn't work with a lot of them. Now he told me that what they were going to do is we're going to get better players on less money. They're going to cut all the staff down to the bare minimum, which, you know, good luck to him. Then my next question to him, well, in 2 years, you know, what happens when the money's run out? And his words were, and this is for everybody on the floor, if we end up in the conference, we end up in the conference. So that sometimes is the kind of people that want to take over your football club, and if that's the type of person you want, and you want us to hand over the club, thinking that we live in the city, you know, I've had other customers coming to my shop, and I couldn't look in the eye if I gave the club. That's what I would do, give the club to any individual, and in 2 years when you're in the conference, or you're struggling at the bottom of the conference, like Hartlepool, and I was going to get the blame. It would be myself and probably the other custodians. So this is where you've got to be careful.
Who was that, Steve?
Pardon?
Who was that?
I think it would be unfair to give the name.
I don't think so, because if you...
Come on.
No,
I think it would be
don't.
unfair, that's in the past. It just gives you a taste. It just gives you a taste of what comes out. Believe me.
Next question. I think you put your hand up first before, did you?
Can you turn the light? Can you turn the light off?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm just getting dazzled.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
So what's the current position of the club? Is it for sale? Are you looking for investment? What's the situation? Because if it's for sale, advertise it for sale. You can't tell me that it's been for sale for 10 years and nobody suitable has ever come forward. Hartlepool put their club up for sale and within a week there was 5 interested parties. I'm not saying they were good for the club, anything happened, but it shows what happens if you put the club up for sale. And to me, it isn't up for sale. Looking for investment means you want someone else to put their money in for you to carry on just doing what you're doing. That's not for sale.
Well, anybody that puts their own money in will not tolerate us doing what we want to do. You know, they would want us there.
See, in my eyes, the club's dying. It's going nowhere. It's absolutely on its backside. You took over 10 years ago, and it was healthy club, healthy league position, healthy crowds, the interest in the city. It was great. And look at it now. It's an absolute shambles. It's absolutely going nowhere. I mean, in all fairness to you, Andrew, you're a fan the same as we are, but this is his second crack at running the football club, and this is the second half that you're making of it. So why don't you stand aside, put the club up for sale, and give someone a go, somebody with some foresight, with a bit of drive, some ideas, and let the club thrive, because it's going absolutely nowhere with you three in charge.
When you do that, who guarantees that the club thrives?
No guarantee, absolutely no guarantee, no guarantee.
You can stop Bob County.
But I'll give you a guarantee now. With these three in charge, it's going nowhere.
We're in the Football League at the moment.
Hey, what's he happy with that?
No, I'm not happy. Hey, I followed Carlisle for donkey's years. And I'd love to see them higher up. But I'll tell you what, my preference is seeing them in the Football League than in the conference, or the conference, no. We stop Paul.
What's that guarantee?
negative thinking, that. Negative. And that's the same with the club.
Over at the top of League One.
Yes, and times change. Look at Stockport.
Somebody, right? It changes. Look at us now.
Stockport
They're after the
County.
bloody mess.
Stockport County were in the championship. If I'm not mistaken, Stockport County were in the championship. They're playing in the Evo Stick North now.
And Burton Albion's like the bloody
And
championship.
Burton Albion,
And
yeah.
Fleetwood's like in the League above us. Accrington's going to be in the League above us next year.
Geographically.
Gents, can we just, hang on, can we let them answer? He asked the question, do you want somebody to answer your question? I don't know you put your point, somebody want to follow on his question?
Well, I can tell you one thing.
What's
Somebody
the plan for the football?
we had a gentleman came and offered me £2 million for my money, which I said, okay, we'll do it, but we'll see who he is. I can't say who it is, but at the end of the day we said, where are you going to find the money? And he said he was going to get a bridging loan. So that was the end of that conversation.
Is the football
And he's got a
club
business.
up for sale or not?
Well, all football clubs are up for sale.
No, is it
At our
actively
level.
marketed up for sale?
Well, I think Fred Story marketed it, but
No, what about you? Is it up for sale?
Yeah, I think, if I can answer the question, I think everybody with an interest in football knows that if they wanted to come into this club, they could take it away. Everybody.
Right, is it actively up for sale?
There's no. You don't need to put an advert in the paper
It
to
would
say.
help, would it?
No, it wouldn't help at all. It'd make absolutely no difference
No.
whatsoever.
Right.
Because everybody who wants to buy a football club, people offer to get involved in football clubs, whether they're for sale or not for sale.
How do you know everybody who's interested in buying a football club on a worldwide basis?
Obviously, I don't know that. But my point is quite simple. That there's been enough publicity around this club over a number of years to know that it's available for people to come in and take it. The first thing I said here when we started talking was that if somebody wants to come in, it's there to be taken. So I reiterated it again. It's going out on BBC. It's going to go out in the papers. Everybody who wants to know is there to be seen. And I can tell you, when people want to get involved in football clubs, they just ring the club up, and that's what happens. They come and ring the club up. So it's there, and I don't think putting an advert or saying where for sale or anything like that would make a difference.
Why not? It would clarify the position, because obviously there's concern that it's not so transparent.
We can't get more transparent. You can't get more transparent than it being streamed on BBC.
Well,
And
sure
it's
it is.
just saying.
Would it not be better to think a bit wider than Radio Cumbria, however good it is, or local press? And if it's not going to do any harm, why not put out publicly a statement saying we would like to sell Carlisle United, these are our terms, sorry Mr Jenkins and Mr these are our terms, so there's no thought that somebody wants the £1 million back or the £1 back or whatever it is. And this is the point I think the guy behind me is trying to say. Let's make it obvious, let's make it explicit and not bubble along in a bubble, Carlisle, and think a bit wider. Also, Mr Pattinson referred to the problem of new buyers coming in for the longer term. The concern we have, I think, is that there's no long-term future with yourselves. There's no long-term future with yourselves. I mean, there are rumours around, which I don't know if they're true or not, but it would appear that you're very short on cash. You have to reduce the budgets for next year. That might make very great changes in the club, which would indicate a higher risk of plummeting down the league, which brings us the crowds less than 4,000, and it's a vicious circle. And I think it's not too late to rescue, but it is the time to make a decision, be explicit, and say, right, us three, we've had enough, we want to sell the club, and these are the terms. Anybody who's interested, come forward.
Well, I think the best thing to do then, Nigel, I think if we can organise an advert joining the, what newspaper would you like it in?
Well, Mr. Patrick, you know, you can't, we've got to be serious about this, and I don't want
We're being serious, I mean, what paper would you like it in?
If a person comes and expresses a serious concern about buying the club, whether he was suitable or not, I don't know, and the response we hear from your good self is that he doesn't have a pop to whatever. Do you think that's really a good sales method?
Well, when a guy says he's putting X, Y, Z into a football club, and then they reduces that amount to 25% of what he first offered to put into the football club, that's where the pot to piss comes from.
Yes, but why would the owner of a club, which is very serious, want to engage in that sort of language to a potential suitor?
Because the same guy engages in message board stuff every single day of the week. I mean, how he does his full-time job, I've no idea.
Well, he
And I don't go on the message board, but I'm told about it.
Well,
How do you know what's on the message board then?
Because I'm told about it.
well, Mr. Pattinson, when he first expressed an interest, that wasn't the case. Certainly the gentleman has been very active in recent months, and I have my personal thoughts. But at the time, and it's history now, you expressed a very crude opinion, and it's not the way to sell a club, that's what I'm saying.
Listen, the guy you're talking about was going to buy the football club. He was another one that couldn't come up with the money. End of. He wouldn't put money into an escrow account. He wanted to put it with solicitors and Deloitte out the next day maybe. He promised to get X, Y, Z, and he didn't even get half of it. He came out and said that certain individuals had pledged vast sums of money. When we approached them certain individuals, they hadn't. So, you know, but he still never came up with the money, and that is your problem. If anybody comes up with the money, we'll advertise it in the newspaper, but again, if they come up with the money, not to give to any of us, but to invest in the football club, take the club forward as everybody wants, fantastic. Until somebody comes up with pounds, shillings and pence, I'm afraid.
So what's your terms then? What do you want?
Well, I want somebody to take over the club.
Yeah, but what do you want out of that sale? Nothing.
Well, nothing.
Right.
And I don't want anything else,
Nothing.
apart from my company debt. But I've agreed to take shares for equity for what I've put into the football club, which is considerable. We had one gentleman who did that, and we were caught with 100,000 tax because it was written off. So I've decided, rather than the club have to pay tax, that I've been taking shares. So as money comes in, I'll take shares, and they're non-voting shares, by the way.
Any more questions? Hand in there. I'll go to the front. Hang on. Wait till I get in. And everyone can hear.
Thank you. To Steve, you mentioned, or you tweeted to me actually, and it was before Andrew Lapin put his offering, that Andrew Lapin didn't have a pot to pee in, as so to speak. Some people around in this room have spoken to Kurdy, Yaha Kurdy, and he mentioned that you've only invested or put in a loan of £10,000 into the club. What the hell have you done? You put £10,000 in. What gives you the right to say that people like Andrew Lapin, who you say he wanted to take over the club, he didn't. He wanted to help the club, and he wanted to put out a prospectus in order to get money to invest. He clearly said if he got 100,000, he would take this shares. If he got 1 million, he would take this shares. All Andrew Lapin wanted to do was help the club, and he got absolutely ridiculed off you three for it. Now, Yaha Kurdy spoke to me and he said, yeah, Steve Patterson in his voice only paid £10,000 for, or loaned £10,000 for his shares. What gives you the right, and how the hell are you on the Carlisle United board for only investing £10,000?
Well, it's easy to say I've only invested £10,000. If you go through the accounts and see what money I've written off in the past, you'll find that it's a lot more than £10,000. I'll go back to when John Gordon was here, and we signed Green, and he didn't have any money. I loaned him £30,000 to sign Green. So that's £30,000 that I put in the club. That's a long time ago. Again, my company does more than its fair share of work keeping the club going, if you like. I mean, it is in a state of disrepair. I mean, the lads have been down 2 days this week, 2 days last week. Nigel Dickinson will walk around. There's a problem here, there's a problem there. I have never had a cheque out of Carlisle United. Now, if you don't think that's putting something back into the club, you're mistaken. And again, I could walk away when a new investor comes in and hopefully, just hopefully, we'll get a new stadium. Because that's what we need. End of.
Get rid of that. Andrew Lappin tried to help.
Listen, I have spoken. No, you can't. You've had you say. Andrew Lappin tried to help.
Yes.
Andrew Lappin never came up with the money.
That's fine.
End of.
But before he did that, you said he didn't have a pot to piss in.
Listen.
Nobody's going to speak to you, Steve, or anybody else. If you are nasty with people who want to just tell them you're nasty.
Don't raise your voice with yourself.
I'll raise my voice with whoever I want to raise my voice with.
If there's people with genuine interest in taking over the club, then they're obviously being treated with respect and treated properly. Goes without saying.
Can I just tell you about Mr. Lappin? I'm sorry about this. Mr. Lappin conducted his business with emails with another certain individual that has bankrupt Gretna, bankrupt Stockport, bankrupt Darling. Was going to burn somebody's house down, and he was going to be a managing director. Now I could have fetched tonight, I could have fetched 150 emails. Maybe one of the comments was, I've got John Coleman in my pocket. You know,
I don't want to stir it up, but he didn't act in a responsible manner because he promised to put X amount of money in. And within a month, it was halved. And I said, there's trouble in here. At the end of the day, we said, well, put 800 in an escrow account, so nobody could touch it. And he said, well, I couldn't do that. We'll put 200 in. And he was trying to get me to, and I said, well, I'm not going to be part of that. So he didn't come up with enough money to invest. I've put more money in than that in the last 12 months.
Is John Coleman here to defend himself?
Well, John Coleman has got to defend himself. This is an email from a certain individual to somebody else saying he had John Coleman in his pocket.
You mentioned it in an open forum, and it could be taken as an accusation.
It's not nothing to do with John Coleman. He probably doesn't even know that exists or whatever. I think with this.
Well, he does now.
Well, he doesn't exactly. He does now. Yeah, exactly.
Any more questions? Hand in the air. Who wants to?
Question for Nigel, really. It's about the manager and the players' contracts. You don't think it'd be better to bring this forward when you're trying to sell discounted season tickets? You said it's going to be left to May. I mean, surely after maybe this weekend game, we'll know if we're going to make the playoffs or not. Just think it'd be better to be brought forward and get more season tickets sold.
Yeah, I think I've said before we want to give the football staff and the manager the maximum opportunity that they possibly have to show where they can get to this season. We can't make a decision on the long-term future of the club in order to just try and sell a few season tickets. It's far more important than that, really. So we'll make the decision as soon as we can, and hopefully it isn't after Saturday, because we won't know for certain we're in the playoffs on Saturday, so hopefully it'll drag on a bit longer and we can get into the playoffs and see where that takes us. But we need to see this through. A lot of hard work's gone in, and football goes up and down. A few weeks ago we'd won a few games and we were on the edge, and then that's kind of gone away a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 4 games? So I think we've got to see it through to the end. But as soon as that end comes in terms of knowing where we are, I think that's when you make your decisions and you try and make them very quickly.
Okay, another question in the corner.
Playing in Scotland, I was on SFA Scout for Aberdeen. I want to know what sort of scouting network the club put in place for young players aged 5 and upwards. Because obviously in Nigel's notes and accounts, that was to become a much more important part of the club, i.e. developing players for on sale or for becoming mainstays of the club. So what does the club have in place? Is there any plans to change that going forward?
Yeah, in terms of that academy level, we've got a person who fills the role of the head of academy recruitment, and then we've got a series of scouts who go and watch youth football at all levels, and they're out and about watching games, and they make recommendations, and then once they've been recommended, the head of recruitment will go and see them. Traditionally, we've done very well at recruiting people, maybe from across to the east, but we need to do better at recruiting. It is very difficult. There's no secret formula to it, but we have a guy in the academy who does that job, and hopefully we'll see the fruits of it. We're trying to get more success for the academy at all levels, all the way through, because we need it. We need players to come through, to be given opportunities, try and play for the first team, make an impact, and go on to better things, so that we can recycle and reinvest the money that we might get from them. It's absolutely fundamental to this club's sustainability that happens.
Yeah, and coming in there, what's never mentioned is the School of Excellence. You know, again, the chap who was on about, you know, what do you do and all this. I've done the Carlisle Glass Youth League for over 20 years now, and I started it to improve the players' ability in Carlisle. Now, that youth league now has 3,000 kids that play football every Saturday and Sunday. It started off, you know, referees would turn up in Wellingtons, etc., and play on any type of field. It's moved forward from there, in conjunction with the Cumberland FA, who we've worked very well with, and we've a lot of charter standard clubs, which they've all got to be. And it is a bit unfortunate that any players that go into our School of Excellence can be taken away by other clubs without any compensation. No, that isn't correct. With very little compensation. So it's a difficult job to fetch local youngsters through the School of Excellence, because as soon as, you know, we get one or two good ones, two goalkeepers we've got Henderson that's playing for Shrewsbury at the moment, and another guy that's playing for Lightfoot, I think it is, that's playing for Manchester City, that we lost. And I know that there's a couple of other lads that tried to sign up for next one, that they are signed up, but they're being poached, if you like. I don't think they'll be here next season. And that's a guy that's under 12 and one under 14. So it's a thankful task trying to fetch young players through. It may be something that we've got to look at, or the new owners, whoever comes in looks at, because it isn't working. Our School of Excellence isn't working. Well, we just don't seem to be able to fetch somebody through and then into the academy and then into the first team.
Any more questions? Andrew, here we go.
Yeah, just coming back to the players' contracts and the manager's contracts. You say you want to give them the opportunity to go as far as they can this season. Well, one player, Nicky Adams, doesn't have the opportunity because his season's effectively over. What's stopping you making a decision on his contract now?
He's not fit. He's not fit. He's in. Can I answer the question?
Please do.
Yeah. He's not fit at the moment. I'll try and explain it like this. Nicky is an employee of the club, right? If you, in your employment, if you're the person that you work for talked about your medical history in a public forum, you wouldn't be too happy. You can't do it. It's a breach of trust. So I'm not going to talk about details of Nicky. The key bit is, everybody knows he's injured. Everybody knows he's had a serious injury, and it's an ACL injury. It takes months and months and months to recover. Periodically through that recovery, you're going to get assessed by your surgeon as to how you're progressing. Now, where we are, we're waiting to see what that surgeon comes back with. Now, it'd be irresponsible of any club and any director to sign up a contract on that basis, because we don't know where we are with it. And it's as simple as that. It's not about Nicky being a nice guy and a good player or anything like that. It's about the risk and the responsibility of the club. And that's it.
So do you see his situation being sorted outside the timeline of his colleagues, or is that consultation with his physician, is that going to happen before?
I can't talk. Like I say, I can't talk about Nicky's personal position. It'd be wrong. You wouldn't expect any of your people to do that where you worked. As soon as I've spoken to Nicky and we've agreed that as soon as we all know where he is with his injury, then we can make an informed decision. And that's all he wants. All he wants is it not to drag on once we know what the medical outlook is for him. And that's it. And that would be the same at any other club. The same at any other club, unless they're in a position to just take a gamble and write a contract and not worry whether how long it took to play or anything. And that's it. If you flip it around, look at it another way. If you sign players without knowing what their medical outlook is, why bother have medicals when you're signing any player at all? You just kind of say, right, it don't matter. We're not bothered. So all it is trying to have some good housekeeping and do what's responsible for the club. And it's our job to look after the club's interest. That's it. It's no disrespect to Nicky, he understands that.
More questions? Front?
I believe that I'm led to believe through online that we're looking for planning for a new scoreboard for Broughton Park for next season. I'll reiterate that the one that we've got was flood damaged. It was I know it started faltering before that, but after that it's just never really worked since. And I believe we're trying to get, but we're looking at better options for next season, including a video screen. Can you comment on if there's been much progress on that, please?
Yeah, we the electronics of these existing scoreboard are beyond repair. We've tried to fix them and we can't. It's just unreliable. Periodically the score works or the time works, and then the time works and then the score doesn't work. It works in warm weather. When it gets damp, it doesn't work. It can work on a Friday and not on a Saturday. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Yeah, it's just gone. It's gone and old. So we need to replace. We've had discussions with a scoreboard provider who put one in at Kendal Rugby Union and put one in some other football clubs as well. And we're trying to do a deal with them to get one into our ground. Hopefully we can.
Any more questions? Right at the back, and on.
What's your break-even attendance figure, and what's your marketing plan for getting 1,000 over that or 2,000 over that, regardless of how good or bad we're playing next season?
The break-even figure, obviously the key part of what it depends on is the player wages. As we sit here now, on average, a walk-up fan contributes £10 per head to our cash, our bottom line. So if you look at it simply, keep the numbers simple. Say we lost £700,000, so that's 70,000 more bums on seats over 23 games. So you're looking at probably 3,000 extra per game on average. So in terms of your break even on that basis, you're up above, you're getting towards 8,000 people. So I was looking at some attendances and I think I went back 35 years and the club's never had an average attendance of over 8,000 people. So that's the scale of the task, to get to break even on the current budget based on just fans paying their money. So a marketing plan to do that, I think that depends on us winning, because I just cannot see in the history of this club any precedent where we've had any kind of numbers like that, except when we've had sustained winning on the field. So we need to get better on the field, and that's our biggest marketing tool, to get more bums on seats. But it's a long way to go.
You want another one? Yeah.
How do you increase this season to an extra 1,000 then, or 2,000? I used to travel 2 hours to get to a game, and this last couple of seasons it's been a sort of thing that you did because you had to rather than because you wanted to. This season I've hardly clapped, and I now live in Carlisle and I'm only half an hour away, and it's still a bit of a slog. I used to live in New Zealand. I used to travel from Devon. I used to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, get to Carlisle at 12 and get back at midnight, and I enjoyed it. But now it's just turgid. It's miserable. There's no fun. And my little circle of friends, we used to be 10, 12 people about 10 years ago. Now there's 2 of us, and there probably will be only 1, me, next season. So if you can't get the 8,000, how do you get 5,000?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is we've tried price initiatives in the last month or so. They did make a difference. So I don't think it's about cutting prices or anything like that. I think it's about for me it's about success on the pitch. That's how I see it. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm monopolising the microphone. What do you say, Jim, Billy?
I think it's fair to say that over the last 3 years, the club has spent every single penny that it's been able to spend, every little piece of football fortune. 99% of the income, I would say, that comes into the club goes straight to the manager for football, to improve the football team. What we've got to ask ourselves is, has that been repaid? Have we had the success that the amount of money that the club's put in, has it been worth it? But we tried to buy the success. We put the money into the club, we put the money into the football team. We still do not get the crowds. So I don't know. Jim?
Yeah, well, I just can't see things improving until the spark comes back. And how are we going to achieve that? It's a massive ask. We need change that we've talked about before in order to produce that spark, and we need to work hard at finding a way of bringing about change that gets supporters behind the club in a way that probably they aren't now, but have been in the past. And I think it's also significant that we've got 1,800 going to Morecambe for a game where it's a very, very long shot that we'll get anywhere this season, and hopefully we will, but it's very unlikely. But that isn't replicated when we're at home, that kind of commitment, and we need to analyse why and do something about it.
Good. Here we go. Alan?
Like I said before, this club won't move forward until there's new owners in, and the apathy amongst the fans is because of the way it's been run over the last 10 years. Folk are just sick. Folk have either walked away or they just turn up as a chore. That's certainly my viewing of it. That's how I turned up on a Saturday. this season has been, well, I'd say boring is the word.
So you blame the manager. That's
Yeah.
where you've got to
Yeah.
put the blame on.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
without the manager, with a better manager, with
I
different
agree.
tactics,
I
you'd
agree.
get around.
Yeah,
So you
but
can't blame the
over
owners
the
for
10 years, the apathy amongst the fans and the disinterest amongst fans and businesses in the city is because of the board of this football club. It absolutely is. It is. Right. Can I just say one thing? We had the best ever start to a season last year, and the crowd was still poor.
Yes,
So what does that say to you?
the tactics, the no.
No, Toby. People support a winning team.
Yes,
And we haven't lost in about 18 games. And folk weren't turning up.
Tactics, you don't understand that.
People
People
aren't turning up simply because of the way the club's been run over 10 years.
The team's been run.
But also, can I just ask, who's in charge of marketing these days? Since, is it Phil King left? Who's in charge of marketing? Because you've talked about the offers and things, but like an offer is only as good as the way it's marketed. And it wasn't marketed very well, so the offers didn't work. The season ticket offer and the latest game. You speak to people, oh, it's a tenner on Saturday. Oh, I didn't realise that. Start of the season tickets, or the 200, like 50 quid or whatever. I didn't realise that, I didn't know. It's not marketed. You can market it to us fans who go anywhere, so the only benefit is that we're getting cheaper. No one new's turning up because they don't know about them, all these offers. The marketing of the football club is appalling. For a business to be run like that is awful.
Can I ask why you think the attendances went up last year and went up the year before?
Well, because the team was winning, as opposed to the previous season. Year on year.
The last season the gates went up. The season before that, the gates went up. So what you're saying is the gates have gone up because the team's winning, and when the gates go down, it's because of the board.
But also, we had higher crowds in the conference.
That's because the team won the conference.
No, they were mid-table. You weren't even in it. You were mid-table.
They got promoted.
I'll say to you now, they were 10th in the conference, and they were getting like better crowds than when they were second top at the start of last season. So they were second top of the league, and they were getting poor crowds. They were getting higher crowds than the previous season, I admit, but they were poor crowds. Stumped, eh?
No, I'll go back to my point, right? I'll go back to my point. What you're trying to say is, when the team wins, it's because they're good on... When the team wins, the gates go up because they're good on the pitch. When the gates go down, it's the board's fault. I'm just saying that's what you said.
No, it's not at all.
Because when I asked about last season, and asked why the gates had gone up, you said that because the team was winning.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, why are you saying they've gone down this season? Why have they gone down this season then?
A, because they aren't doing as well, but also B, because of the board.
But that's what I just said. You said you're blaming us for them going down, and then you just denied it. Now you admitted it.
I'm talking on the bigger scale, over 10 years. You said the club's never had 8,000. When they took over, it was almost 8,000. It was 7,900.
Yeah, it was 7,955, I think.
Yeah, so
But we were talking about break even, and I specifically said it hasn't had gates of over 8,000.
So
that's what I said.
So they were 45 short. Because we're splitting hairs now.
No, I'm just trying to give the facts.